I often teach very deep meditation practice leading to nirvikalpa samadhi. But one conscious breath can be a very deep meditation practice, and it's practical for most people. Many people through this holiday season go through some stress, anxiety, fear, anger, even different kinds of stresses that we have in our life. And one conscious breath can relieve you of all that, can relax all of that. Just one conscious breath. It only takes a moment. But in order to fully take a conscious breath, which means to be aware of your breath, you want to be able to do that, to be able to be fully conscious of your breath, to leave your thoughts alone, to leave your mind, your sense of self, your emotions and all that, your body behind for a moment and only focus on the breath. This is why it's so relaxing and also so deep. So to practice this one conscious breath, you may have to do multiple breaths until you really feel that centering of focus on the breath, that conscious breath, where all that exists is the breath. So we have many meditation practices in early meditation to be able to focus on the breath and not on your thoughts, such as counting your breaths from 1 to 10, usually your out breath, only your out breath. And often in the beginning, your thoughts will take over and you'll be distracted. So you just return again. If you're distracted on the third out breath, then you go back to 1 again. If you're distracted on the 5th, you go back to 1 again. If you're distracted on the 9th, you go back to 1 again and start over. And you keep doing that. And it can be a little frustrating if you've never done this before, but after a while you get it, and at some point you experience a conscious breath. You experience no thoughts, just the breath itself. And then you know how to take a conscious breath. You know what it feels like to take a conscious breath. And you can use this at any time in your day, any time in your life when it becomes useful. If you're in a stressful situation, you can just take a moment. It takes such a short time. Just take a moment and your out breath, you just let everything go. Everything go. And so in that moment, you're centered, you're calm, you're conscious, you're aware, and then you can respond to whatever the stress is, but you're responding to it in a responsible way. You're not reacting to it. It's not like you're not being pulled around by your thoughts and emotions and what's going on. You're responding from this place of truth, from this place of centered, from this place of calmness, equanimity, love. Right? This is your true nature. So a conscious breath can bring you immediately back to your true nature if you're distracted. I mean, all our practices with Thich Nhat Hanh, most of them were based on the breath. All the gathas that we did, which could be quite deep, were always based on the breath. First, we had to follow the breath because the breath is something that we always have available to us. And since we start the early meditation practices in our beginning practice with the breath, we become used to being able to use this breath to anchor us into this present moment. Right? Because the breath is happening in this present moment. And it's not a linear thing. It's this constant flow. Each part of it is perfect. The beginning is perfect. The middle is perfect. The end is perfect. The gap in between the in-breath and out-breath is perfect. The beginning of the out-breath is perfect. The middle of the out-breath is perfect. The end of the out-breath is perfect. And that gap before the next in-breath is perfect. No one part of it is any better than another. So we're completely focused on each part of it, which means we're being fully present. And it doesn't matter what speed we do this at, but eventually we find that our breath is slowing down. Our inhales are a little deeper. Our exhales are more full and relaxed. We just see this happening. We just notice this happening. Breathing in, I'm aware of my breath. Breathing out, I feel calm. That's a gata. We have hundreds of gatas that we learned. But it's just a way of centering yourself. Mostly you just want to focus on this conscious breath. One breath where you're fully conscious, fully aware of every part of it. And that's all. That in itself is a very powerful meditation practice. And it's very practical because you can use this at any moment in your life and it improves your life. It improves whatever you're doing. To just take this moment. You know, in the Zen monasteries, we would have a sound that would go off, a ringing sound that was attached to a clock. And so every 15 minutes, a bell would go off and would stop whatever we were doing and take a mindful breath. It just reminds us throughout the day, every 15 minutes, working, everything would just be like that. So we'd never lose that thing. If we were distracted and we lost our attention on whatever we were doing or whatever was happening or this present moment, the bell would remind us to come back to this. So this is something that you can always do. It's completely practical for you. To learn to take this conscious breath. Learn to not let your thoughts interfere or anything interfere with that. So all your attention is fully focused only on the breath. And so you need to practice this until you can do this immediately, quickly, and fully. And then that one conscious breath is all you need to return, no matter how stressful the situation is. You're in the hospital and you've just got a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer that you didn't even know about, and you only have, a short time left to live. You can take that conscious breath as soon as you hear that news. It could be shocking, disturbing, and confusing, but take that conscious breath. And now you know how to respond. You know how to respond to your own thoughts, your own fear, and whatever comes up. You know how to respond to that. You know how to respond to the doctor and your loved ones from a place of equanimity and calm and peace and wisdom. Because with that conscious breath, you come back to your true nature, to reality. Before that, we're just living in a thought world. And that's why we have stress and panic and suffering and all the other stuff that goes along with it. This human life. But we're more than this. We're more than this human life. A human life is more than what we think of as a human life. We have enormous untapped wisdom, peace, bliss, love, unconditional love. That's our true nature. And one conscious breath can bring us to this. But as I said, we need to practice so that we're able to take one conscious breath. Try it with me. See what opens up for you if you can just take one conscious breath. It's so simple. Your breath is always happening. You can focus on the air coming in through your nostrils, through your nose, what that feels like as the air enters your nose and leaves. You can focus on the rising and falling of your belly. And your belly rises and falls with each breath. Or all of that together. Just be aware of this breath. Be fully consciously present for this breath. Now, I wanted to tell you that this Saturday, I've been doing these events every Saturday, and they've been wonderful. So I'm going to continue doing that. And this Saturday, it's December 30th. We're going to have another event from noon Pacific time till 2 p.m. Pacific time. And I really want to explore with you your goals for this next year, what you would like to have and what you're doing for this next year. I want to know. Whatever I can do to help, I will offer a suggestion if it's helpful. If you just want to say and you don't need any suggestions, then that's wonderful too. To be fully present, we're not thinking about the future, but it's good to have some intention, just intention going forward. We don't have to think about it as a whole year, but we are coming into a new year. This Saturday will be the last Saturday in 2023, and the next Saturday will be in 2024 in January. So it's sort of a time when we kind of set our intentions. And intentions are very powerful things. My experience of opening up into samadhi, into the Dharmakaya body of without the dream, no body, mind, and that comes just from pure intention, no effort. It's just the slightest intention, and the same with the conscious breath. We have an intention to have a conscious breath. An intention to focus fully on this breath, this in-breath and out-breath. To put all our attention on that, not into our body, not into any aches or pains we have, not into any thoughts, not into anything. Just this breath. And as we practice it and we get used to it and we keep our attention on it, it only takes the attention to do it, not an effort, not trying. Until we're able to do it, it takes some effort and trying. But when we can do it, it just takes the slightest bit of intention. And there it is. And here we are. And you'll see as you do this that one conscious breath can change everything. To be fully present in this moment. This is why we're doing it. The breath itself is just a vehicle, something to put our attention on. But we do find that breathing is incredibly pleasurable. It's amazing when you put your full attention on it, because we're distracted and by our thoughts and all the things that are going on. We're not aware of how amazing it is simply to take a breath, simply to have a living body, simply to be present. But when we are present, oh yeah, it's wonderful. And this is just a breath, something that we take for granted, that we don't even think about. There's nothing we have to do with the breath. We don't have to make it long or deep or anything. It just naturally does this by itself. Our breath happens naturally when we're in deep sleep. Who is controlling the breath? It's just happening. It's just part of a body. A body naturally breathes. We don't have to do anything. But we're putting our attention on it. We're bringing our full attention to it. That's a conscious breath. Just one conscious breath changes everything. So I really want to know what your goals, your intentions are for this coming year. It's interesting for me to hear. We all have some. I mean, for the most part, life kind of flows through me. I don't sit and make a big plan about what I'm going to do, but intentions come. They just flow. They just come as part of the flow. And sometimes, if our spiritual practice has been going on for quite some time, we don't really even think about it because our focus is not on the future. It's just on being. It's just on this present moment. But even there's an intention. We're just not usually aware of it. We're not consciously aware of it. And so when I ask this question of myself as well, then I find, oh, I do have an intention. Yeah, I do have an intention. One of my intentions for this year is to bring more of the basic practices, because I'm coming often, my teaching is from a place of this already freedom. And the bridge to many people's experiences is not connected enough. So some people really need to go back to have that basic mindfulness practice. But that's something for me that was like 40 years ago, so I still actually do it all the time, but I'm not conscious of it. I'm not aware of it. Just as we're not aware of our breathing. Doing these practices, mindful practices, have just become like breathing to me. They're just part of my life because I've been doing them for so long. But many people haven't, or they don't really know about them. So I'd like to bring some of the early things back. I think that would be really useful for people. So that's part of my intention. It seems like a skillful and generous and kind offering to do that. I think too much I've been saying, like, come to where I am, as if it could just happen instantly. And there is a transmission, so a certain level of that happens, but then it only happens during the transmission with me and not when the person goes home or when the person is not, doing a practice with me. And that I would like to change. I would like it to be something that people can do at all points in their life, and not have to rely on me, but to do it at all points in their life. That's really the purpose of this. It's not like, come to me and feel more peace. Come to me and, and have some stability and calmness and wisdom and bliss, love. It's fine. It's wonderful that it happens here. But it's not enough if it only happens with me. That's not really helping. How can it be part of your life? So it's always like that. So you know what to do when you're in a stressful moment, when you're with people who are, disagreeable or even, aggressive with you, and not enjoyable to be around, how do you bring that into your life then? Because you can learn to do that. And part of that, I think these early mindfulness practices were very useful for me. So I would like to offer these to you too. I went through John Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction program and a lot of things, and I saw how useful they were to people that had chronic pain and things like that, how useful it was, how it helped them manage their pain, how it helped them experience it in a new way that wasn't so upsetting, wasn't so damaging to them. Miracles really happened, in those sessions. It was an 8-week program, and we worked with people, that came in through chronic pain clinics and through the hospital, Worcester Hospital. And you'd see amazing transformations happen with them with such basic teachings, such early teachings. And Thich Nhat Hanh always would begin retreats with the most basic, mindfulness teachings before, the end where we'd get into non-self and nirvana, where the real letting go. But at that point, people were ready to accept that, ready to open up to something that was so new to them. But we could begin with mindfulness practices, which anybody can do. And I've seen how it happens. I mean, the people who came to these, were in this program with us that we were working with, they had never meditated in their life. They didn't even believe anything about it. They only came there because out of the desperation of having this chronic pain, and they didn't know what to do with it. Some were feeling suicidal. There were all kinds of, it was very challenging for them. So that brought them into this. And through here, we taught them very basic conscious breathing practices, conscious eating, how to be present in this moment with whatever is arising, including pain. These were very, very useful things. So I'm happy to offer this. I think this is a good offering for people. So that I guess is my intention. That's one intention. It's kind of noticing the intention. And I'm happy to offer this to you. And I hope you'll come on this Saturday, December 30th. And you can see more information about this on the website and get the Zoom link and everything. It's on Zoom, noon Pacific time to 2 p.m. Pacific time, December 30th. And I'm interested to hear what your intentions are for this coming year. Thank you, my friend. I hope you'll join us.